But if we don't talk about it, then what happens is one side is ignorant and the other side is suffering. When we look at civil rights, like when we see the movies, it's so much more softer and settler than we thought it was, or than it actually is. I heard Chris Rock once say that he hates watching, civil rights movies because it's very surface. Like it just looks like all that happened was that people couldn't eat in restaurants and now they can. Or people had to sit in the back of the bus and now they can sit anywhere they want to on the bus. It just looks like that's all that people were fighting for. But it's so much more deeper than that. I mean, those are the things that you can name, say it out loud, but there's so much deeper in feelings and emotions that we don't see. There's so much more happening behind the scenes that is hard to explain or even comprehend. Like we talk about equal opportunities. So what people will do, they'll say, okay, we're giving more people of color or brown people or women opportunities. And they think they solved the problem. But that's like real surface. Like people say, well, Obama was the first black man that was the president of the United States. So we don't have racism in this country. But it's actually not the issue that we can show people in positions. It's what happens when they're in those positions, or who were denied opportunities day in and day out. It is so complicated. People are so complicated. All people are so complicated. But the suffering behind the closed doors, because most people of color or most women are alone in their plight. Like so often they are overlooked for opportunities. So often they're not included. So often there's microaggressions on jobs. So often people have these biased concepts of these folks, and they don't even realize it as they continually have these interactions with people, and they continually hurt and offend people that are different from them. So often they don't even think about people that are different or opposite of them in any way in the workplace. I mean, there's been these stories of people who have done jobs for many years and done it well and excelled, but when a promotional opportunity came around, they wasn't even considered for it. But at the same time, they were asked to be the trainers for the new person that they brought in that didn't even have experience in the industry, let alone that type of work. That's the kind of stuff that happens over and over again to women and brown people. So today we like fool ourselves. We say, it's over. There's no racism. There's no this. There's no that. And I'm not even complaining about it, because we all can have great lives and maneuver through it. So it's not a complaint, but it is an acknowledgement. It's what we see, is what we experience. And we have to keep talking about it and sharing, because I think a lot of people really don't want to hurt one another. I think a lot of people really don't want to be ignorant about these topics. They don't even know they're ignorant about these topics because we're not talking about it. So more of us are talking about it now and having these discussions. And it's not a bitch session. It's an acknowledgement session. It's an education session. We're sharing experiences, and then we want to hear about your experiences, and we want to have this discussion, these viewpoints, because we have to talk about it. If we talk about it, then we can get through it. But if we don't talk about it, then what happens is one side is ignorant and the other side is suffering, or vice versa. So we got to have that communication. So like I said, it's not a big bitch session. It's not that. But we definitely need to have those discussions. And it seems like we're having more and more discussions around the world. But the challenge though is, as we're having these discussions, the difficult part is that people had a perceived idea that they were doing things right on the surface level. Like I talked about, all I got to do is hire a brown person in a seat or a woman in a seat, and I've done my job. Nah, it's so much deeper than that. That's why we got to listen to people's stories. What's their story in the workplace? The brown person who is working at that job, what is his story? Or the woman who's working at that job, what is his story? Or the person of non-color, what's their perspective and story about their position in the workplace as it relates to brown people and women? We got to hear all the stories, talk about it, hash it out, have these discussions so that we can get better. Because I really believe that most of us want to get better at this.